Welcome back to Carbuncle's Corner. Here we have Mitsutart versus Lolo. Alright, both players with GTR. Lolo building up a Y joint, while Mitsu not really a distinguished form there. Definitely gonna be a little rough for the tail. He's unable to get their full chain off after the harassment, but is able to counter most of it. Lolo's actually put in a pretty bad spot. Lolo's gonna go for a harassment, and oof, Mitsu is just can't get their harassment in time. Or can't get to the reds they needed in time. Ooh. Lolo with some strong harassments after there. Mitsu? I definitely applied a lot of pressure to Mitsu. Mitsu is definitely rushing a lot of pieces and fishing more than... I feel like they definitely could have gotten out of that situation if they had kept a little more calm, but that panic really does come in. Mitsu going for a pretty strong harassment. Lolo isn't very ready, but it is only one row. Looks like Lolo's going for dig with those greens and reds. Just a few one chains. Mitsu didn't go for a follow-up. Lolo's going to attack themselves, and Mitsu is just unable to take it. Way too high up for their chain. Lolo takes the second round. Looking a little rough for Mitsu right now. Lolo's chaining efficiency, or just general chaining prowess, seems to be... Well, actually, Lolo doesn't really set off much of a chain, it's only literally harassment victories. But it seems like Mitsu has... some kind of advantage that I can't just think of on top of my head. Lolo's going for a very risky harassment. It looks like it's gonna work. Maybe Mitsu's observation skills aren't exactly like the greatest, which is very understandable. It's very hard to pay attention to what your opponent's doing. Lolo seems to have an advantage in harassments towards Mitsu. Lolo going for a sandwich on the second floor into an L shape. Mitsu also going with GTR just like Lolo. Mitsu not really going for a harassment. Lots of that chain powers, but it didn't really connect to the chain anyways, but that tail does not connect. And Lolo cuts their tail. Kind of a simple chain versus chain, and just makes sense that Lolo setting off their chain later, they had time to extend and they were able to out-chain Mitsu. I'm just gonna abbreviate Mitsutart as Mitsu if that's okay. It's easier to say. Hee. Mitsu being a little inefficient with those greens. For sure could have completed that 1-1-2 sandwich by now had they put those two greens in the top, or in the middle right of their chain. Lolo notices this and chooses to set up the chain. Mitsu's in a really bad spot. Wasting those greens like that, but just put them in a terrible spot. They just continued. It was pretty unlucky that they didn't get any greens, but they could have gotten out of that situation. Another GTR versus GTR. Lolo going for an upside down L shape. I guess that's what that would be. This for a very risky harassment. Mitsu is able to notice though. Lolo's not getting the blues they need. Lolo doesn't try to set off the chain. Probably wasn't strong enough anyways. Not much in the transition was heavily weakened. Oh, Lolo seems to have messed up their GTR possibly. I just noticed they kind of paused and seeing how they've played GTR those other past games. Looks like Mitsu's getting ready for some kind of counter, but is unable to get the blue on top of column 2. Found a pretty hard spot here to dig. He's gonna choose to harass into the dig. Mitsu definitely has a... choosing to dig through Lolo's harassment is definitely a good play, but still, without that tail, without the blues, it's gonna be rough, but Lolo's also seems to be struggling, but he's able to match Mitsu's attacks. A whole lot of just back and forth right now. Mitsu sets off the last that they have remaining on their tail. Lolo barely manages a 5-chain actually of their own. And completely turns the game around. That's definitely rough for Mitsu. Their garbage was in a rough spot for them to fix up their chain. Lolo bringing this to match point. Lolo with a very strong lead throughout the entire game. Looks like Mitsu gets an all clear, and Lolo actually did not get... Lolo didn't get their purples in time to set off their chain and outchain Mitsu. Mitsu takes a pretty strong harassment victory. Mitsu definitely has a strong chance here at victory, but it is always really difficult to... You need to win 5 rounds in a row. That's a lot of pressure. Mitsu chooses to set off their chain. Lolo in a very rough spot to extend is actually taken out. Yeah, not getting that green, and with the chain, there was a lot of conflicts on the extension, to where like any little bit of... It was at a point where any little bit of fixing would have set off the full chain. Both players with a 1-1-2 sandwich based GTR. Lolo sets up their full chain after Mitsu sends a small harassment. And Mitsu decides not to extend with those yellows. But Lolo brought out a much more powerful chain. I don't know if if Mitsu had enough time to extend, and Lolo takes a strong victory. That was a pretty interesting set. I feel good games all around.